Hello, I'm here with my friend Lisa Hess, and she's going to share a little bit about who she is and her Holy Shift experience.
So hello, my full name is Lisa Magdalena Hess. It's a delight to be here at the dining room table. Thank you very much for the invitation. And thank you for the privilege of offering a little bit of some of this narrative for me. I don't take the listening lightly. So a little bit about me. There are a bunch of hats that I wear in the world, but the way that I like to be understood is primarily as a companion, a contemplative. I'm also a spiritual director. I'm a scholar, a poet, a wife, a daughter, a sister. I'm a teaching elder in the Presbyterian Church USA. As a professor in Christian spirituality, practical theology, some interreligious learning, I hold space for teaching and learning at United Theological Seminary, which is one of the 13 accredited seminaries in the United Methodist Church. But for this glimpse into what I like to call an abundant and complicated life, I hold the affiliate license for Women Writing for a Change Central Ohio. We do writing circles in Dayton and Columbus, amongst other things, and I co-facilitate that with a spirit friend of mine, also named Lisa Heckerman. And my holy shift really arises in the encounter with Women Writing for a Change. So Women Writing for a Change is a non-traditional writing school for women and men that celebrates the individual voice in the practices of community. One of the visions that comes from the Mother School, which was founded in Cincinnati in 1991 by a woman named Mary Pierce Brosmer. But one of the visions that I share with the Mother School, with my affiliate, is the vision of bringing the feminine more fully to expression in the world. So this was not what my life was 5 years ago. So my holy shift moment begins at a meeting that I can't even remember. A colleague said something that apparently infuriated me. I don't even remember what was said, but I remember heading home, stomping upstairs into my writing space, opened my computer, and into what I say Oracle Google, I typed women and writing because I just wanted more of both in my life. And up came Women Writing for a Change, Cincinnati. They had a class that was starting in 2 weeks on Wednesday nights. I knew that I could do that. I signed up on the spot. And so March 21st, 2012, I showed up and at a writing circle for, there were about, 18, 19 women in the circle. It was a 10-week class on Wednesday nights, and I became a Wednesday night writer with Women Writing for a Change in Cincinnati. And when I arrived, I really felt like I'd come home, like I'd been there before. And the day itself was significant in that there was a lecture series going on campus, and so I had to be on campus for a time to listen to the lecturer. He was speaking about urban monasticism. And but before I left, I remember thinking, I've got a writing class. I should take a journal. And so I went to my shelves, and I was like, well, this one looks like a nice one. And I had totally forgotten about it. So I took it with me, and then I'm sitting there. I'm not very good about sitting in lectures. I get bored pretty easily. So I got this out to remember what the journal was. And in my handwriting, I came across a story of when I was a hospice chaplain in clinical pastoral education. I had visited 4 times with a man named Ed Sullivan, not that Ed Sullivan, but an Ed Sullivan nonetheless, who had been an alcoholic, was dry for 27 years, COPD. He was on his last weeks, and he and I connected immediately. I only saw him 4 times. But on one of the visits, I found in my handwriting, so I'm sitting there in the seminary lecture hall, and I'm being returned to these words. The visit that I had with him was interrupted by the Eucharistic ministers. We had prayed together, and Ed received the sacrament. I had brought my Bible and hymn book just in case he couldn't talk much. He refused the offer to read or sing, me to do such for him, and we spoke of silence instead, the intimacy of being known in such space. I insisted I may sing for you yet, and he smiled. As I left this time, he said, "Be selfish, Lisa." confused, I asked him what he meant, and he said, "You have a gift, and if you say yes to too many, you won't be able to share it. Be selfish." And so I'm sitting in the seminary lecture hall, and tears are just coming down my face, because this saint from my communion of decades before was telling me that this was a significant moment, and that I needed to pay attention to what I needed. And this is exactly what the writing circle was opening to. And so when I found out about the Conscious Feminine Leadership Academy that was going to start in December of that year, I signed up, and I had no idea what was going to be unfolding. I didn't have an intention to open an affiliate in this community, but I was asked by the executive director whether I would be interested, and I said, well, let me think about it. And on the drive home, the huge energy and all the ways in which I'd been connected with Academy, church, my husband's church, and then the women's circles, and I thought, And so I was terrified, absolutely terrified, because I'm not a gatherer. I'm a networker, but I'm not a gatherer, and that goes way back to a story that's not necessary to tell here. But the universe sent me a woman who is a gatherer, and so the two of us began with samplers, and the first circle for Dayton started in January of 2014, and it's sort of been that way ever since. And so I find myself in the flow of crafting conscious feminine communities that are interested in bringing women to words and women's words to the world, because then the world will change. And I do have sort of a vision or an energy about what I see the community could offer, but at the same time, there's just this flow that happens, and it sort of has a life of its own, and I just hold on. So the Conscious Feminine Leadership trainings, there are a couple different ways that people can enter into that, but it totally changed my life. And I think the story that I'll end with is the one that came up at the table. About 2 years before this shift moment, I was sitting in a coffee shop in New Haven, Connecticut. I had given a paper at Yale at a summer conference, and I was reading Carolyn Mace, Anatomy of the Spirit, and I heard clear as crystal in my head this voice that was mine but wasn't mine, said, "I am leaving higher education. I am leaving higher education as I've known it." And when I think about it now, 5 years after women writing came into my life, 7 years after that, I have left higher education as I've known it. I don't teach in the ways that I was taught. I don't invite people into the rigor of discipline, whether it's Christian spirituality or practical theology or theologies of religious pluralism, comparative theology. I don't invite people into the disciplines in the way that I was taught to enter in. There's a very different entrance, a very different process that honors the conscious feminine values of women writing for a change. So we're very much a community that wants to be about the energy of life and leadership that is in both men and women, that shares the values of hospitality, transparency, nurture with rigor, the capacity to hold paradox, and celebration of the individual, but not at the expense of societal or planetary well-being. And this is how I want to spend my life. So thank you.